More than just a genre, reggae is a weaponized prayer aimed at liberation guided by consciousness. And that is a quote from yours truly, Scotty the High-Strung Hippie. Now, this quote addresses one of the main reasons I created Hippie-Fari, the beautiful, life-changing message of reggae music. It was created for social change, and its message is as strong today as it was in the 60s when the first reggae records were released in Jamaica. So welcome to another episode of Hippie-Fari Reggae Radio and Podcast, recorded live in the Om and Honey Reggae Radio and Media Studios in beautiful Daytona Beach, Florida. I am your host, Scotty the High-Strung Hippie, and Hippie-Fari is a podcast where we discuss all things reggae. So if reggae music is your thing, you're in the right place. And we're doing a free t-shirt and sticker giveaway. Go to YouTube, subscribe to us at Hippie-Fari Reggae Radio and Podcast. Send me a screenshot at hippiefarreggae@gmail.com and I'll pick a winner. But tonight we have a special guest in the studio. From his conscious reggae band, StreetLevel Uprising, boasting 3 full-length albums with that revolutionary message that we hold dear to our hearts here, and his successful podcast, Talkin Reggae, with 122 episodes to date, our guest is nothing short of an architect and community building. And I've been on his podcast recently, and I've wanted him on mine ever since we've met. So it's with great privilege to introduce Jay Canter of StreetLevel Uprising to the show. What's up, Jay?
Hey, Scotty. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good, brother. How are you, man? You having a good day so far?
Yeah, man. Feeling good. Glad to be here, brother.
It's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming on, man. So we'll go ahead and get started, man. Let's go ahead and start at the beginning. What drew you to reggae music, and how did it become such a central part of your life?
Man, well, the funny thing is, like, even before I knew what reggae music was, I was drawn. You know, there have been certain radio hits throughout the year that were reggae, like some UB40 hits or reggae-ish, reggae-tinged things. Things like Men at Work, Down Under, like a tune like that. Sure. Like, I was drawn to that when I was a little kid. Before I even knew what it was or knew what it was called, it was just what was on the radio, and I dug those things, man.
Okay.
And then so getting, growing and getting older, when I really got into reggae, it was like number one is definitely Bob Marley. That's the path sure. Most people get to it. But then right away, man, I got into like Steel Pulse and Peter Tosh and cats like that. And I just loved it, man. And I grew up playing music. I used to play in all kinds of different bands when I was young, when I was a teenager. But, more and more, I just wanted to start playing reggae. And so I went from having eclectic bands where reggae was one of the things we did, and just like with each band got more and more reggae and until right. StreetLevel. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So I know that you mentioned the artists. Did you have any like particular albums that truly moved you by them, or was there like a specific song, you know what I mean, that you heard that you were like, this is it?
Yeah. Well, so you and I talked about this a little bit on my podcast, where like I am pre Spotify. I am pre downloading music, right? So like, if you wanted to check out an album, you either spent the money for the album, for the CD, or you knew somebody who had it, right? But you couldn't just listen to like my son's been doing this thing, man, where it's like an album a day that he's never heard before. He wants to go check out an album a day, right?
Cool.
I couldn't do that back in the day, man. That's a streaming thing. That's a Spotify thing.
Oh yeah, you'd have to have $1 million.
Yeah. So it was like, I heard Legend first, again, like a lot of people, and said, okay, obviously there's a lot more to get into from here. And one of the albums I went out and bought, where it's like, okay, you got all these Marley albums to choose from. Rastaman Vibration was the first Marley studio album that I bought, and I bought that, loved it. From Steel Pulse, it was actually the live album Rastafari Centennial.
Right on.
Playing Elise Momart back in like 92 or something like that. So I would like, whatever CDs I could get my hands on. So, but it's just, it's probably just random that those were the ones that I got first, just because that's what I had access to.
Sure. Yeah, and that's a beautiful thing. That's a great thing to have access to, man. 100%. Yeah, mine was Peter Tosh. Legalize It. Um, I've got that song Magadog, and I said on your podcast, stuck in my head just because growing up surfing, going to the beach, man, we played that tape over and over again. But that was a really catchy song. Had the dog barking at the beginning, I remember that. But yeah, it's really good stuff, man. I absolutely love it. So, how did StreetLevel Uprising come together? And what was the vision when you first started the band way back in the day?
Yeah, so man, so we were playing in I was living in Lawrence, Kansas, where I lived for a long time. I moved from Florida to Kansas and back to Florida now. But we had a band that we were playing in, a little 4-piece band, and it was, like I said before, it was a little more eclectic. And that band just kind of ground to a halt. We really weren't doing anything, and I was still writing tunes. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna get some equipment and record an album. I'm gonna record an acoustic album. Some tracks are going to be just acoustic guitar and vocals. Maybe I'll add something here and there, right? So that original vision was kind of an acoustic reggae folk. That's how StreetLevel started, because it started as just me. But some of the cats from the band I was playing with and some other friends were like, man, I want to be a part of this. Is there something I can do on there? So it started adding people. And I released this album. It wasn't really a band. I released the album, and we decided to have an album release party, CD release party. Nice. And so we did that, and like a whole lot of people showed up. And at the end of the night, it was like, oh, I guess we're a band now. I guess this is just
right.
I guess we just start doing this. And
by default, that's awesome.
Yeah. So then we kind of became a 4-piece, and album by album, over the course of the 3, we started adding more and more things. The second album had a little bit of electric guitar. The third album had gone to a horn section, hand percussionist, 7-piece band. Nice. Some half acoustic, half electric kind of thing. And that's pretty much the kind of what set the standard for what we are now. We have a lot of pieces in the band, and whenever we can, play certain shows as a 7-piece, or we're able to do that.
That's awesome, man. And you had mentioned living in Kansas, kind of going from one place into Kansas and then back. Yeah. What was it like listening to reggae music? Were there any other reggae fans in Kansas?
Yeah, man. It's funny because like I moved there for family reasons. So I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Now Lawrence, Kansas. It's an incredible town. It's still just my favorite town. Like, I love awesome. It. The people I met there, the friends that I made there are just unbelievable. And it's a great place. But like you said, not the biggest reggae town. The Midwest, the Great Plains in general, not the biggest, but there are some people who dig it, and those people are loyal. Those people are going to come out to every show.
Awesome.
There was an old a reggae band back in the 80s called Blue Rhythm Band from Kansas City, and they were pretty popular. And one of the first like now there's American bands, you can't throw a rock without hitting an American reggae band now, but like back then it was like they were one of the few. So there had been that little history coming out of Kansas City, and to this day there's some good reggae bands, man, out there. Our good friends in Topeka, Soul Rebel and the Beast. Great band. Page 7 in Lawrence is a great band. There's a bunch of good ones out there. So it's like it's small, but it's a committed reggae base.
Sure. That's fantastic, man. That's awesome. Yeah, sometimes bigger isn't better, You can get watered down, but that's really awesome, man. Yeah, I love those the tight-knit communities, like the Arizona is another one. Really, really, really awesome reggae coming out of there. Just places that you wouldn't think reggae music would come out of, and it ends up being some of the best you've ever heard.
Yeah,
which is really cool, man.
That's what I dig about it too, man. Is like you can hear other things from the region that you're in. I mean, like saying I was in Kansas, and started StreetLevel as like an acoustic reggae folk thing. That was part of the vibes that I was getting, that area is real big on Americana, bluegrass, that sort of thing.
Sure.
And I never got 100% into all that stuff, but the vibe is still there, and it went into our music, even though I didn't grow up on it. That's the, so it's always fascinated me, the regions, the different regions. Like we know, like Cali is obviously the most famous of the American regions for reggae, and a lot of those bands, most of those bands, do have that similar type of thread running
Cali
through their
vibe.
music.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Hawaiian reggae for that reason. It's got, you can definitely tell that, where it's from, and it's got that it's an amazing sound. I absolutely love it. And speaking of amazing sounds, this is something that I love. Your lyrics have a strong message. So how do you balance music as an art with music as activism?
For me, it's all one and the same, but
Okay.
I tend to I don't 100% keep the activism in the music, but I keep the message in the music. And what I mean by that is I'm not on social media telling people what they should and shouldn't do. That's not, I don't want to do that. That's not how I want to be. I have thoughts and feelings and ideas and emotions, and I put that in the song, and, it just so happens to be very socially conscious, sometimes militant in certain situations.
Absolutely.
But it's what I feel, and it's all from love. We've been called. So there's a couple people who've called us the Rage Against the Machine of reggae, and I don't. I love Rage Against the Machine. No disrespect to them at all, but I don't feel that way because I feel like I feel like there's a lot of love coming from what we're doing, and that's what it's all about. Our message, simply in a broad stroke, is it's about human rights, and so I kind of feel like if people disagree with that message, we're not the problem. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, amen.
I'm not telling people vote this guy, vote that guy. I'm not a huge fan of politicians.
Amen.
But,
me either.
Yeah, it's a message of human rights, man. And if you got a problem with that, well, then we are going to have a problem.
Sure. Absolutely, 100%. I like that attitude, man. I wish more people actually had it, reggae was started for human rights, basic human rights. If you have an issue with that, then unfortunately you are the issue. So what does the name StreetLevel Uprising mean to you personally?
Man,
it's a great name, man. Honestly, if I heard it first coming from a punk, I would bet at 10 grand that it was a punk band.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I'm glad you dig it. I sometimes I do wonder if it's a little too aggressive. I really do. I really have had that.
I don't think so.
I appreciate that. I mean, not that I would change it now because it is what it is. But man, when I think of, when I started it, I knew it was going to be 100% conscious lyrics. That's what we do, strictly conscious. Man, I love songs as much as anyone. Like, I'm a sucker for great love songs and stuff, but that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do something strictly conscious. So I needed a name that would go with that. I needed something that would kind of, I like things that tell me what you're all about. Man, here's some, you ever get a Facebook invite and it's like the dude is inviting you to his band, right? And it's just a dude playing guitar, and you're like, okay, well, what kind of music do you play? And you go to the Facebook page of his band, and you're like, this I have no idea what you guys do. I don't know what kind of music do you play. I wanted something to where if you see our name, if you see our logo, you have at least a vague idea of what we do. So you don't waste your time on us. I don't want people who, wouldn't be interested in this music wasting their time trying to dig it. It's like, so, so this StreetLevel Uprising thing, man, is for me, it's all about unity. If you want change, you need numbers and you need unity. Amen. And so StreetLevel Uprising to me was when people take to the streets to protest something, they can make change. And
Absolutely.
so it was, I wanted it to be an embodiment of how we have the power to make change. Most of the things, most of the issues, 90% of us agree on. We all want healthy food, clean water, things like that. The basics. We all want better lives for our children and so on, So we have things that we can agree on. We can come together. And I think we've forgotten that right now. But I think we can get it back too.
Amen. And I also think that the powers that be are trying to make us forget that, you know what I mean? Because the last thing they do is want us to come together. But it's pretty
I
awesome
think
that you mentioned. Oh, go ahead.
no, I think they always do that. I think they've always done that. We're seeing a little extra flare up right now. But I think what's the goal of people in power? To stay in power. It's
stay in power. Yeah.
Man, so many of these things are governed by human emotion. You know what I mean? And it's like, if you're in power, that's what you're going to do, is try to remain in power. So, this is how it works.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's true. And it's cool that you mentioned unity and community. My favorite personal quote, I always say it at the end of my podcast, but I'll say it right now, is strengthen unity, build your community. And that's it, straight up. As a unified front, as a collective, we are extremely powerful. So, reggae definitely has deep roots in social justice. How do you see your role in carrying that tradition forward in today's world?
I'm honored and humbled to just be a tiny part of anything, to just be able to pick up a guitar and strum some chords and be some small part of carrying this music forwards. But you brought something up that I appreciate, which is the context of us trying to carry our part forward, and that is the consciousness. And it's there's some people who are upset if reggae is not conscious, but the roots weren't strictly conscious. The roots were conscious, and there were love songs, and they did everything. So it's okay for anyone to do anything in this and be a part of it, as long as you respect it properly. But for us, I wanted to carry forth that consciousness because I didn't see it as much anymore. There's some bands who have some conscious tunes, and they do a great job with it. There's some bands that don't really mess with that at all. I saw the consciousness slipping, and I wanted to be some tiny part of making sure that stays in this music.
That's fantastic, man. That's another reason why I was extremely excited to have you on. We might have a guest here or a guest there. I might have somebody lined up that doesn't, like you said, kind of like the music's not 100% the conscious reggae, but pretty much the guests that I have on, I want to, to kind of stay that way because I feel that is the most important. You come on here for an hour and a half and talk about partying. It is what it is. But I definitely fall in line with what you're saying. The roots reggae and the reggae that I love has that message. That's why I love listening to what I listen to, like late '70s. Roots reggae. It carries that beautiful message, that conscious message, and it's what's always fascinated with me, or fascinated me and resonated with me, big time. So speaking of that, you kind of brought to light all of your lyrics are conscious because you saw it slipping. So can you walk us through your songwriting process? How does a street level track usually come to life?
They all usually start with, I'll just get a few words in my head with a melody, and they come, a few words, they come with a melody. The words may or may not change. the melody may or may not be altered, but it's like that little seed, and then at some point I flesh it out. I've been, sometimes it's quick, sometimes it's slow. I've been learning the songs that come real hard. I've been learning to maybe let go of those and not pursue them. Because if I hammer on it too much, it just doesn't work out well. So I try to find something that flows, that comes together fairly quickly. and that's pretty much it. I figure out the chords that are going to those melodies, and then I just make a little thing out of it.
Do you use it, or do you have any tools in your arsenal, like any research you've done, or any readings on Selassie or Mandela, or any revolutions or anything that you kind of pull from when you're writing your songs? Does that influence, or is it just what you're seeing right now?
No, yeah, man. It's all in there. Like I don't do much
Cool.
reading these days. I love to read, but I find I just don't have the time, and the first thing to go is reading.
Sure.
It's like
I feel you.
it's like
I'm with.
I have to make money. I have to make music. I have to spend time
Yep.
with my family, and it's like But when I was younger, man, I read just everything I could get my hands on. So
Nice.
everything that you're talking about, and the rest is just observations, just what I'm seeing,
Okay.
just what I'm feeling.
That's beautiful, man. Well, I love how you observe, because you pretty much hit the nail on the head. I can't wait. I have a lot of people in Indonesia that listen to this podcast, and I can't wait for them to check out StreetLevel Uprising if they haven't already heard them. It's amazing music that they can probably relate to on a pretty big level. So, speaking of street level, we know your songwriting process, we know your lyrics. Let's get to the performances. What's your most memorable performance so far, and what made that stand out?
Man, the some of the really tiny performances. Some of the play we used to play. There's this place in Lawrence, Kansas called Gaslight Gardens, which is just this. When you play indoors, it's super tiny. So like if you play there in the winter, you're back in a tiny little corner. There's just not much space. During the summer and stuff, there's a big patio out back. You play there. I think some of my favorite shows ever have been there, because it was always like the atmosphere that it's friends we know, friends we're meeting for the first time that night, and packing that little patio, just that felt good, man. I like that because it's intimate, but yet there's a lot of people there to celebrate with, and it's the vibe is just the best at some place like that. So probably some of our shows there I really enjoyed.
Yep.
But then there's always the festivals that you just dig, because they always have the great vibes going on, man. So like, sure. I don't know. I've played a lot of great shows, met a lot of great people. That's the best thing about it.
That's fantastic, man. Right on. I prefer the smaller, intimate. Like when you said when it's packed, because you get that feeling that it's packed, and it's nice that you can see almost everybody's face. You know what I mean? And you see them getting into it, and they're there to see you.
Yeah.
At those smaller venues. So it's just it's definitely really cool. I agree with you on that. I've played a couple of festivals, not huge, but they're fun too. When you're looking out into a crowd and you see a lot of people, it's like it's a tiny bit nerve wracking. Not gonna lie to you. But the more intimate venues are definitely where it's at for me too. I love that, man. So let's go ahead and move on to my favorite part. And since I'm kind of segueing into your podcast, I'm going to ask you a question that you asked me, but I'm not going to save it to the end. You're very good at podcasting. You're very good at writing music and performing.
Mm.
If you had to choose, you could only pick one. Which one would it be? Would it be being a podcast host and writing those questions and talking to bands, or would it be performing and writing music?
Writing and performing. There's no question. I do love doing the podcast, man,
sure.
Because I love that I can use it to give back to the community and not.
Amen.
But man, it's like writing and performing music is the best thing in the world.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought about that when you had asked me, and I'm still staying true to my answer. The podcasting thing is absolutely incredible for me, but I do love playing music. That's a damn hard question, straight up.
yeah, man. I'm turning my own questions against me, man.
Right? You like that? That's awesome, man. So and I know this, but if you could explain to the audience real quick, what inspired you to start talking reggae? And how has that experience of being a podcast host shaped your perspective on the reggae genre?
Ooh, the the second half of that question is really good. And so yeah, I'll get back to that. I'll go in the order you asked. So man, it was pandemic time, and like every other musician who couldn't go play a gig or even rehearse with the band, get together and write songs. I started doing these Facebook lives. That's how this started. It started back when everybody was doing Facebook Live. You know, um, it's I was like it's like yeah, I like to go on Facebook Live. You know, but what can I do? And I was like, well, I could kind of do like these reggae history things because you and I have talked about this where it's like man, I got to this point one day where it's like in this community here in the US, I was feeling like people were forgetting the roots of the genre. And it was like everybody knew Bob Marley, and then it's like they skipped to Sublime and then skip to Revolution, you know? And it's like, man, it's like those bands are great, but like I would like to introduce newer reggae fans to where this all came from. So I started doing something called Reggae Bridge, which is I would pick an artist that had been around for a while, and I would pick a newer artist, and kind of like do a brief profile on each one. That way, I was kind of like introduce the new school to the old school, and vice versa. And I'm old school, so I was learning myself. I was researching these bands and learning about them, so it was great.
Right.
It was great for me too. It was great for my musical education. But that's where it came from. It came from, you know, hold up, you know, we got to bring a little more and more of the roots, more of the originators into the conversation. And some of the American reggae bands have done a great job with like with bringing, you know, Revolution brought Steel Pulse out for a tour. You know, some of the other Cali reggae artists are really good with bringing some of the legends on tour with them to kind of introduce them around, you know. And that's something I really appreciate and respect about those artists that do that. And it was just like, you know, let's let everybody learn something. Let me learn something about what's going on now, and you know, maybe introduce someone to one of these legends. You know.
And that it was wow, I lost it. What bridge?
Reggae Bridge is what I called it.
Yeah. Those are actually part of your talking reggae, right?
They are.
You actually took those and made them podcasts, right? Yep.
Yeah, I did. I made them podcasts.
Very cool.
And I talking about the origins of reggae and things like that. And
it's a beautiful thing, man.
And from there, I started thinking, well, you know, maybe I should have guests or something. And so that became the other thing I wanted to do with the podcast, which is allow artists, any reggae artist, to come on and promote themselves. You know, to you know, I want to help people. I want to help. I mean, I'm one of these cats who believes, you know, the rising tide lifts all ships. Right? There's no competition here. I want to help everybody raise their profile. So, you know, come on, let's do it.
That's fantastic, man. That's a great attitude. I love that. And that goes back to the strength and unity, build your community, you know. It takes all kinds to build a community. So, I'm really glad that you're offering that platform for up and coming reggae artists, or pretty much anybody who's a reggae artist, to come on and talk and promote themselves. That's great, man.
Yeah, and I've had people on too. Sorry, man.
No, you're good, brother.
Not just artists, like reggae promoters, reggae festivals, like anyone working in reggae. I've had reggae. I've had one of my friends who writes for Root Fire. I had him. He was one of my first guests. Like anyone who's doing anything for the promotion of reggae music, come on and promote what you're doing. You know.
That's cool that you mentioned Root Fire. I just actually started working with them. I'm a chapter host in my area, so filling up the Root Fire calendar with all the shows in the area. So if you're a reggae fan and you want to know where reggae shows, you go to Root Fire. and go to their reggae calendar, type in your zip code, and the shows that are available in your area will pop up. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
So you've definitely spoken to a lot of influential artists. Has there been any particular guest that has just changed the way that you think about reggae music, or is, at least shed some light where you're like, wow, I've never really looked at it that way before?
It's really helped me to talk to some of the younger, some of the
Okay.
youth in reggae. It has helped me because it's given me a different perspective. So some of those, and to talk to certain guests have been just fantastic. Harrison from Ground Nation was a great guest to have on
I
there.
just had him too. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, yeah, that I dig that dude. He's cool. We had a great conversation, and there sometimes it's like I don't know your band until you contact me, and then I
Sure.
listen to you and I have you on my show, and now we're good friends, and I'll do anything for you because I believe in what you're doing. And a great example of that is this band. They're from the California desert. They're called Mosaic. Mozaiq, I think. Sorry, fellas, if I messed that up, but I think that's right. Um, we had such a great conversation, um, and now Mark from Mosaic is like one of my favorite people in the world. Like, uh, if, so people who know me on Facebook or in real life, I went through some medical issues back in September, and Mark was one of the first people to reach out to me. Like, man, how you doing? Like, are you okay? And making friends through through the podcast, through going
Amen.
and playing shows, through whatever. That's the absolute best thing for any of this. And that's for me. Like, that's what I get out of this. That's what I get out of playing this music and having this podcast is I get to make these incredible friends.
That's fantastic, man. I was talking to my wife about that the other night. I was like, it's doing the podcast is great. I learn a lot, and I'm making great friends, great connections. You know what I mean? All over the United States, and the world, actually. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man. I love it. Um, what's one conversation from your podcast that stuck with you way after it ended that you still think about today?
Yeah, so I was just thinking of this because there's a wonderful artist named Kenya Eugene who was on my podcast about 3 years ago, and we were talking about conscious music, and somehow it came up about like anger in music and anger in songs, anger as an emotion, especially where conscious music is concerned. And it
Sure.
was just about like if people are critical of that, singing about sometimes it'd be something horrible that you're singing about, but the anger that can come through in that, and people, you know, everyone in reggae wants good vibes, right? It's that's not how it is always. That's not real
Right.
life.
Amen.
And as much as I love, the saying good vibes and all that, and we that's all we should have between each other. However, part of good vibes is real vibes, and sometimes real vibes come out in a song. And
Sure.
so, the conversation we had was like, yeah, I'm angry. Aren't you? Why aren't you? That type of thing. Like, there's room for this because it's a real emotion and it's about dealing with real things. So, yeah, sometimes we're angry. And why aren't you?
Absolutely, 100%, man. I think it was you that I was talking to about the anger. Sometimes it's definitely not a bad thing. It's needed to get a point across. But I guess it depends on how you use that anger. You know, I that was you. Um,
Yeah,
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 that I was talking to. Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, everybody gets angry. It's how
Mm,
you use it. It
yeah,
can be used in a positive or a negative way. Definitely.
absolutely, man. Yeah, I get angry. There is anger in me because I see a lot of things in this world that people do to each other, like on purpose. Like we hurt each other on a massive scale. So yeah, I'm angry. I'm upset about that. I'm not gonna become violent about it. It's how you channel it, just like you said, man. I channel mine into writing tunes or, you know, lifting weights or hitting a heavy bag or something. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
there's
100%.
healthy, but I'm not gonna deny it. I'm not gonna say it's not there. And yeah, I'm upset about a lot of things, and I feel like I got a right to be. I feel like you got a right to be. I feel like everybody has a right to it. Don't do anything foolish, but it's there, man. We're human. It's in there. And I'd rather address it and know it within myself than lie to myself. I know who I am. I know things bother me, but I'm not going to hurt anybody.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's all. I mean, hey, man, 100%. That's beautiful. And I think you bring up a great point. Don't do anything foolish, because if you do, you're just contributing to the same behavior that probably caused you to become angry in the first place.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, well said, my friend. Now, reggae has definitely expanded globally.
Mm.
How do you feel about the evolution of reggae music outside of Jamaica, especially in the U.S.?
Um. Yeah, man. I think first of all, I think it's a beautiful thing. We're talking about music that comes from a small island that grew to be one of the biggest uh, forms of music that people listen to worldwide, and it's an incredible accomplishment. And it's by virtue of the artists that took it there that it became that big, because they're incredible artists. I always say about Bob Marley, I say, why isn't he thought of as one of the greatest songwriters in history?
Amen.
Because he should be. Because if Bob could have played country music or rock and roll, and his songs would have held up in anything,
Oh,
he's
sure.
just as good a songwriter. So his songs, Peter Tosh's songs, what Steel Pulse has done, these cats took this worldwide, and the growth has been phenomenal, including in our country here. Man, growing up, it didn't have a big presence here, but it's grown so much, especially over the past 20, 25 years. And I think it's been beautiful. The one thing that I mentioned early in this conversation is, I do wish there was a little more consciousness
Sure.
among some artists, but man, just the expansion of it is a beautiful thing. It keeps the music growing, and it keeps it alive.
It sure does. Absolutely. Um, and, maybe, do you think it's up to us to, well, I mean, it is up to us to kind of guide and direct the youth, you know, about, the roots and about the consciousness in, roots reggae music and why it was started.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel that everything comes full circle too. You see kids now, they're wearing Thrasher magazine shirts. A lot of these kids that are wearing these shirts, magazines didn't even exist. They don't even know what a magazine is. But they're wearing Thrasher magazine shirts, or they're wearing like ACDC shirts, or all these old throwback band shirts. You know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
everything kind of comes full circle. So I definitely think that the consciousness, it's gonna come back into it.
Yeah.
That's at least my feeling.
No, I agree, man. I think, well, it's first of all, it's our responsibility as non-youth to always
Yeah.
try to guide the youth to good things,
Yep.
but
Yep.
also let them be themselves.
Sure.
Um, I don't want to. I'm no gatekeeper. I'm not going to gatekeep anything.
Right.
Do you listen to what you listen to? But yeah, if the youth could, hey, also check this out.
Yep.
That's cool. That's cool. And a lot of times, a lot of these bands have been incredible gateways for people to then go back through the history,
Oh,
and
sure.
that's great, man. That's great. Anytime someone loves music enough to say, let me check out where this came from.
Hmm.
Beautiful.
Absolutely, man. 100%. Um, so how do you define the authenticity in reggae? Especially with so many different sounds and fusion styles today, which we were just talking about.
It's funny, like if you ask the average person, who may or may not know much about reggae, if you say authentic reggae,
Right.
they're gonna think, Kingston 1977, right?
Sure.
Um, but if a band comes up today and tries to play in that exact same style, they're not. That's not authenticity because they're not being authentic to themselves.
Right.
I think people think about authentic as in, oh, so you guys play that exact sound. It's like, no, the cats who own that sound, the cats who originated that sound, it's authentic to them.
Sure.
You don't, copying someone else, note for note, line for line, vibe for vibe. That's not authentic. You're just doing what they did. I think authenticity, we lose sight of what that really means, which is you have to filter your experiences through your influences.
All right.
And you're supposed to come out with something new as an artist. Now, we're all using the same notes, the same words. There is nothing completely original under the sun. That ship's sailed. But your own tinge, put your own little sheen on it. To me, that's authenticity. Don't try to copy something. Don't try to be something you're not. Be who you are. So, with my feelings, ideas, knowledge, and my influences, I hope my sound is a tiny bit different because it's me, and that's what I expect from all artists. That's what being an artist is.
100%. Absolutely, man. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. I can definitely relate to that. You know, when I'd always wanted to do a podcast. Actually, I always wanted to have a pirate radio show, but I figured the podcast was the next best thing, and I was like, now it's time to do it. But I was coming up with a name. I was like, I want something that describes me so people know, and it's pretty authentic.
Yeah.
But it's just a really, really, really good description of who I am.
Yeah.
And I love that, and I think that matters a lot.
Yeah. Well,
And
it's the number one thing for anyone anywhere doing anything is be who you are, be what's
sure.
inside you, and you be you. You do your thing, and I'll do mine, and it's beautiful. And so
Absolutely.
we're all originals, man. We're all these, no two snowflakes are alike type of thing, So embrace. Right. Why should we be the same if we're all originals? There's never been another me. Why should I be anything other than me? And what I do is for me, and not necessarily for you. The way I eat, the way I do certain things or think, and that's just me. And I don't expect you to be me. You be you.
I love that, man. Absolutely. And I think that's something that the message of reggae music, the conscious reggae music, kind of it's getting us to a point where we can literally liberate our minds, because we've almost been taught how to think. So a lot of people don't even know who they are. And this whole liberation message and all that, it's not just with, liberation from oppression, from the physical stuff. It's mental liberation too. Think for yourself. Who are you? What are you about? Have your own thoughts, and that's scary when you think about it. You're like, crap, man. They've pretty much hijacked everything, with the news and the media and all. They're training you how to think. So that's what I love about reggae music. It kind of it's trying to untrain, what you've been taught by the mainstream, so you think for yourself, and you can be yourself, and you can realize, hey, this is messed up, man. I need to do something about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Right on, man. So in your view, what's the future of reggae music, and what role do independent artists and podcasters like yourself play in its future?
I think independent artists mean everything to its future because reggae is such so many of the artists are independent. They're not. So many of the artists in reggae are not going to be on major labels, so it's almost entirely dependent on independent artists, and I think that's great, man. I think we live in a day and age where you don't need record labels.
Oh, not anymore.
Build a following. That's the answer to everything. Like I hear, people ask me, should I do this? Should I get press? Should I, write to all these festivals trying to play? It's like, man, build an audience, because if you build an audience, those things will come to you. You'll play any show, anywhere. People be beating down your door to do interviews and stuff. Build the audience. I know we get into this thing. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And that's true. If you have a friend who's a promoter or books the talent at festivals, you got a good shot. But like for most of us, even as I've made those connections, anything I get is still like, what's your audience like? Can you put 100 people in this room in, Dover, Delaware, or whatever? Like, build your audience, and everything else comes, man. So focus on that. But going forward, it's those independent artists that are going to build those audiences. That's going to move. That's going to, be the movement of reggae music going forward.
Beautiful, man. Very true, 100%. Let me ask you a couple of fun questions real quick. What's something fans would be surprised to learn about you?
Oh, man. Surprised? I don't know. Because I don't know. I'm kind of like, what you see is what you get. I hear you. You know what I mean? Like, man, we've known each other, like a month now or something. We've talked a bunch of times. Like, I am what I am. I don't like fake things,
Right.
I don't like, just be who you are, talk how you talk, whatever. But just like, I don't like the fake things. So I'm pretty honest about who I am, but I'm also not very open. Like, I don't talk about my life a lot,
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, probably that sense of humor is, and it probably doesn't come through because I do conscious music and stuff like that. But like, sense of humor is like the biggest thing in our band. Like me and Bill go back decades. We've known each other since high school, and we've played together in various bands. And he's just a great bassy and play and sing all kinds of stuff. But that's all we ever do is joke around and make each other laugh. So I think that would be a surprise, that this so-called angry, strictly conscious band is like, that's all we do. Is like, I'm always trying to make my wife laugh, my kids laugh. Like, so maybe that humor is like the biggest thing.
That's beautiful, man. It's hilarious. One of my best friend, Dwayne, I grew up playing in, like I said, punk bands and stuff in high school. And he literally told me, he's like, you're not really that good at the bass guitar, but we keep you around because of your comic relief. He's like, whenever shit's going south, he's like, you will say something off the wall and we'll just bust out laughing. And I was like, yeah, that's good. It's kind of a gift.
Yeah, man. When my wife and I got married, I said, I only promise you one thing. You will laugh, because, sometimes intentionally and sometimes not. Like, I'm gonna do goofy stuff and make you laugh. So like, I always say, man, I could either laugh or cry. I don't really like crying. So
amen.
I'm gonna laugh at as much as I can all the time.
That's awesome, dude. Like now. I love it, man. So I got a cool one for you, man. If reggae music had a message for the world right now, what do you think it would be?
One love.
Beautiful.
It's the most basic, purest thing I've ever heard, man. I've heard lots of words strung together in my life, but I've never heard any sentence, any paragraph, any book as powerful as those two little words together, man. One love. And what that represents.
Sure.
I and I.
I and I, amen. Yep.
One. We're one, man. All of us.
Oneness. Yes.
Correct. We're all one, man, but we only hurt ourselves when we hurt each other. One love.
That's right, man. That is a universal consciousness. When we think bad thoughts, when we say bad things, we are affecting everybody. you know, and that's something a lot of people don't think about, but it's absolutely true, man. It's 100% true. Thank you so much, man. I definitely appreciate it. It was a pleasure to have you on. I love your insight. I love your band's music. I love your conscious lyrics. It's what we're all about. I think the world needs a lot more of that, and that's why we're doing what we're doing, man. Trying to get that out there, get that message out there, and get people listening to some really awesome music with an absolutely fantastic message. So if people want to find you, social media, uh, website links, give it to us, man.
Right on,
Where
man.
can they go to
Thank you.
find you?
Yeah, man. Hey, first, I really appreciate you having me on here, Scotty. It's great to talk with you again, man. I really love and appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you, brother.
StreetLevelUprising.com is where, that's the hub. But on Facebook, Street Level Uprising. On Instagram, it's Street Level J, Jay. That's me.
Okay.
And we're on Spotify and Apple Music and all that stuff, brother.
Beautiful, man. Well, thank you so much for taking your time out of this beautiful, what is it, a Monday night? Yeah, Monday evening.
Yeah.
To come on Hippie-Fari Reggae Radio and Podcast. It was an honor to have you on. Definitely can't wait to do some stuff with you in the future. I know I have a show coming up that I talked to you. You said you would be helping out with, so definitely much appreciated, man. It's all about building that community, and it's really awesome when people actually step up and practice what they preach. It's a very cool thing, man.
Happy to be a part of that.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Now, there's strength in unity to build your community. So follow me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram, follow me on TikTok, Hippie-Fari. Shoot me an email, hippie-fari@gmail.com. Check out my website, hippie-fari.podbean.com. And this is Scotty the High-Strung Hippie, reminding you to speak your mind before somebody else does it for you. And do something nice for somebody today. Grab flowers for your partner, smoke out a stranger, slip the homeless man a buck. But whatever you do, do it from the heart, because all good things start with the heart. The Peace Club and Rasta Rhythms are all a part of that reggae revolution. One love, fam.